Imagine waking up on an ordinary morning, glancing out the window and seeing a flash brighter than the sun. The shockwave arrives before the thought. Glass bursts, floors ripple. That was August 6, 1945, in Hiroshima. 3 days later, Nagasaki. 80 years on, the question remains, what if it happened today? If you want to learn from the past, to prevent a disaster in the present, subscribe now, turn on notifications, like and share. Your voice keeps memory alive. In 1945, 2 different bombs changed history. Little Boy, a uranium gun type around 15 to 16 kilotons. Fat Man, a plutonium implosion device about 21 kilotons. Both were airbursts to widen destruction. In Hiroshima, the detonation came around 8:15 a.m. at roughly 580 meters, in Nagasaki at 11:02 a.m. The strike orders were set in late July after calls for unconditional surrender were rejected. In Hiroshima, tens of thousands died instantly. By year's end, estimates range from 90 to 166,000. In Nagasaki, around 60 to 80,000. Hospitals collapsed. In Hiroshima, nearly 80% of medical facilities were destroyed. 90% of doctors and 92% of nurses were killed or injured. Behind the numbers are names, people like Akiko Takakura, who survived within a few hundred meters of the hypocenter and spent her life advocating for peace. Among the rubble, oleanders bloomed in 1946, proof that life insists. Those 1945 devices were huge for their time and small compared to what followed. Many modern warheads exceed 100 kilotons, some reach megaton scales. A single missile can carry multiple independently targeted warheads. The United States and Russia hold the bulk, but other states possess and modernize arsenals. One 100 kiloton detonation in a mega city today would flatten districts, erase hospitals, and leave hundreds of thousands injured within minutes. Calling such weapons tactical or low yield, doesn't it make them controllable? Their effects are indiscriminate, long-lasting, and impossible to recall once unleashed. Even a small device creates a fireball hundreds of meters wide, hurricane-force winds, and third-degree burns kilometers away. Friday, a packed financial district. Heat shimmers. A school rehearses. Windows stand open. The first sign isn't sound, it's light. So white it seems to delete the world. Then a brief hush, then the punch that knocks everything down. Windows turn to blades, asphalt to dust, elevators freeze, signals die. An electromagnetic pulse fries electronics for kilometers. Towers fall, radios hiss. You try to call, no one answers. The nearest hospital has no roof, the next has no power. Another is overwhelmed. Highways jam with debris. Downtown becomes a maze of smoke, loose wires and sirens that never arrive. Hydrants cough. The air stings. Burning plastics and fuel paint the sky black. Dust looks like snow and burns the skin. Those who survived the flash now face heat, cuts, burns, glass in their eyes, and radiation that lingers for years. In dense cities like Sao Paulo or New York, with thousands per square kilometer, a single 100 kiloton detonation could mean hundreds of thousands dead and millions injured. Some simulations put the figure for a comparable strike in New York at well over 500,000 fatalities, and that is just day one. Tell me your city and what would change in the first 5 minutes after an explosion. Comment and share so more people join the conversation. The blast ends, but the effects travel. Radioactive particles rise, winds carry them, rain brings them down. Neighborhoods far from ground zero receive fallout. Plants absorb it, food chains taint. Water, soil, and air become an invisible equation of risk. In Hiroshima, black rain deposited radionuclides nearby. In today's interconnected megacities, the reach would be wider. If detonations multiply, soot climbs into the stratosphere, blocks sunlight, and cools the planet, the nuclear winter scenario. Less sunlight, failed harvests, broken supply chains, global food insecurity. Hunger doesn't need a passport. Even a regional conflict with a few dozen warheads could perturb climate for years. What worries experts even more is the risk of error, false alarms, misreadings, software glitches, often more likely than a deliberate first strike. In 1983, one officer read a warning as a malfunction and averted catastrophe. In 1995, a scientific rocket was mistaken for a missile. We have stood a button press away because of confusion. More than once, the world exhaled thanks to a single human decision. The scars are not only on bodies. Survivors faced leukemia, thyroid, and other cancers. Children exposed in utero suffered congenital defects. And beyond illness came stigma, jobs denied, marriages broken, fear of the contaminated label. Even so, they traveled, spoke, and turned trauma into legacy, asking for something immense and simple: never again. Memory also lives in art. Films, anime, and documentaries face the horror head-on. Some capture the flash, others the decades when silence screams louder than the blast. From biopics of scientists' moral dilemmas to stories of children amid ruins, culture helps us remember and feel. In 2021, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons entered into force, banning development, testing, stockpiling, use, and threat of use. Over 70 countries have ratified. No nuclear-armed state has joined, but each signature deepens the stigma. Each voice nudges history a millimeter from the brink. Eliminating these weapons is not utopian, it is a humanitarian imperative. Today, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are alive. Peace parks, museums, flowers where rubble once lay. The symbol isn't only destruction, it's resistance, rebuilding, commitment, and a warning: it must not repeat. If this story moved you, subscribe, share with someone you love, and support organizations working for disarmament. May Hiroshima and Nagasaki remain the first and the last. Memory is an act of resistance, and you are part of it. When I lived through the bomb, there were 3 nuclear weapons in the world. Now there are thousands. May our voices outshine the flash,